Hello, my name is Johannes. I work in the Redpanda cloud team, and I will show you how Oxla integrates with the Agentic data plane. So we have a Redpanda cluster here in Redpanda Cloud, AWS cluster, bring your own cloud. So it runs in my own account, and yeah, Redpanda cannot see like the company and all the people operating the system. They cannot see your data, which is the purpose of bring your own cloud. Now let's look into this data. We've prepared a few demo topics for this demonstration. We have this credit card table. So you can see we have credit card numbers, an item ID, price, quantity, status, etc. So all sorts of fields for credit card transactions. The schema is stored in the schema registry, which is part of Redpanda. And yeah, you see it basically matches the data we already have. Now, we want to query this data, right? We can see the data is in here and we can browse it, but we actually want to make some analytics. Now, since Oxla is now part of Redpanda, we can directly query topics from Oxla. So let me show you a query here. This query checks the table transactions and gives me the schema. And you can see card number, item ID, price, quantity. This looks very familiar. It is exactly the same schema as we have seen in Redpanda and in the schema registry. In fact, Oxla is configured to use the schema registry for the schema of this table. And this table, it directly queries from Redpanda. Now, let's try something. We can select all from transactions limit 5. So we directly query this Redpanda topic, and we just saw 5 items from the transactions table. And there is no kind of trick to move the data actually from Redpanda to Oxla, but it is directly integrated, and the schema is exactly the same. Now let's try something more complicated. We can do a join between these tables, right? So we can join from basically the ratings table into some of the other tables to get basically the average rating per item. Now, this resulted in 0 rows, and that is expected because the ratings table is actually empty. And we do that to demonstrate to you that this is not faked. So there are no items in here, but in the ratings table, but we can start the data generator. So this will take a few seconds to start up. We use Redpanda Connect for everything. So Redpanda Connect is really good at generating also test data. We just use the generate input, and it's now producing a data to Redpanda. So you can see output is Redpanda. Now let's try this query again. We can see, okay, this has changed. It was empty, and now I have data, and even the numbers, they're changing, right? The numbers are changing. So we can live query the table with no delay, and it's directly coming from Redpanda. So we have now queried a topic, and we joined to another topic. But we can do something even more interesting, and we can join between Oxla and Redpanda. So we can also join between native Oxla tables and Redpanda tables, basically. And that works as well. There you see, we basically look into the user profiles table, and we join it with the transactions table. And that works as well. So you can join between Redpanda, or Oxla Redpanda. That all works. So in short, what did we do? We have a horizontally scalable, Postgres-compatible OLAP database, and it integrates seamlessly with Redpanda. Now, this is great, but we want to go further. So let's go back and have a look at remote MCP. So what is remote MCP? Remote MCP is a new feature we just launched, and there's a blog post about that and launch announcement. You should check it out. It also explains a lot more details than I will explain right now. So remote MCP allows you to connect with any data source, right? So you can basically connect your AI with any data source supported by Redpanda Connect, and I will show you just an overview, right? How many processes are available? It's about 300, right? You can access MongoDB, Postgres, which we use for Oxla integration, Nuts, and of course also Kafka. So there's lots of systems supported, and you can integrate all of these here. Now, let's look at a specific one we've prepared for this demo. That is the Oxla MCP server. So the Oxla MCP server, it configures Redpanda Connect remote MCP to connect to the Oxla instance in this data plane. And yeah, we can just try it out. So let's do select all, count from transactions. So let's do that just to see if it works. It works, 13,000 rows, great. So we now have an MCP server and we can integrate it with our AIs. And we could integrate with everything else as well, but especially with Oxla, it's really exciting. Okay, now the MCP server alone is not very interesting. Let's talk about AI agents. AI agents are the hot topic today. And what is an AI agent actually? And what is very important, we believe for a lot of use cases, you do not have to write code. So an AI agent is basically a system prompt that is human language that describes how it should behave, and then MCP tools that allow it to perform actions and look up data. And in addition, of course, governance features like guardrails, audit logs, possibly human in the loop for approvals. Now, let's look at an example AI agent. That is the fraud detection bot. So it has a system prompt, and yeah, what does it say? You're an expert at finding fraudulent credit card transactions. And there's like all sorts of configuration language, basically. Use certain query expressions, do not use some, basically some kind of optimization. We want to have an artifact as output when they produce meaningful outputs. The business logic, how to detect frauds. The bot needs to know how should it detect the fraud. And instead of writing code, we just give it a prompt that explains it. So compare the number of rejections versus other users' rejection numbers. So that is very simple human language, but it allows it to find these frauds. And again, another example is flag transactions where the price is more than 50% above the suggested price stored in the items, right? So human language can be used, and the AI bridges the gap basically between the human language and the machine. Okay, now this is the place where we configure the fraud detection bot, the AI agent, and we can use the inspector to try it out. So let's try to give it a prompt. We want to analyze our data. Analyze the Oxla database for fraudulent credit card transactions. Write a summary that names the specific users and the reason for them being flagged. And this will take a moment. So yeah, let's start. So the agent is now receiving the prompt and it creates a task. It starts by exploring the database, basically looking into the schema of the tables. And while this is running, the declarative agent of Redpanda Cloud uses the A2A protocol. So this is not just some fancy chat interface, but what you're seeing is actually a debugging user interface for the A2A protocol. So the A2A protocol is a standardized protocol, how you can interact with AI agent, and our agent implements it. This means you can interface it with it here for testing purposes, but you can also hook it up with other AI agents. So let's say you have other agents, you can let them talk to this agent. It's specialized in fraud detection, right? but you can also have your backend applications talk to it, right? So this protocol kind of standardizes the connectivity, and we're very good with connectivity. This is important to us. So we use a standard protocol to do this, just like MCP is standard for integrating with outside systems. A2A is for agent-to-agent communication. So we already have a summary. That was really quick. So global failure rate is 5.91%, and Brittany Ernster from Brazil was flagged, 74% failure rate. So we should audit her, I guess. So yeah, we just performed a fraud detection analysis, and we can see it performed all sorts of SQL queries, right? And that is pretty cool because AIs are very good at writing SQL, and we have a high performance OLAP database that can perform these queries and integrates with all your data. Now we can do another query just to demonstrate the capabilities. For example, let's create a history. Show me the transactions volume per user. So top 10 only, we want to see the volume of the transactions per user. Let's go. Okay, once I have a confirmation, go ahead. So again, I only used human language to describe what the agent shall do. And now it's writing the SQL queries, and it keeps running until it has solved the task. Oh, that is interesting. So the top 10 users by transaction volume. There we go. Okay, now we can use this data to create a bar chart. And yeah, there's like some tools integrated. You know, we can actually just create a chart based on this output. Let's give it a second. There we go. We just easily explored the data at Oxla and created a chart, and we analyzed the data, right? And we only had to use human language. This is great, but let's look at governance. So we work with credit cards, and we don't want to expose these credit cards numbers to our agents. So we can do this with Redpanda Cloud. So we have a basic hide credit card agent, and let's just try it out. Show me 5 transactions from Oxla, please. So let's just ask it and see what we get. There we go. And again, it will explore the schema and just do the query for us. We don't actually have to write the query ourselves. There we go. There's the query, and we should get a result, hopefully marked down in a second. So there it is. And we can see card number. But that doesn't look like a real card number, right? But do you remember the topic? So we can see the card numbers. They look like this, right? These look like hashes. And we can see this. We can go into our topics, explore the transactions. Let's just pick a transaction. These are real card numbers, or like real fake card numbers. And we just redacted these on the fly, right? So you can look at the MCP server hiding hash, right? And we can put in place really flexible governance functions. In this case, we take the card number row and we replace basically the value, right, with a redacted version. And this is really flexible. You can like pre or post process any field basically in Oxla, in Postgres, but in any data source, right? Since this is part of the Redpanda Connect framework. So yeah, this allows us to bring in some basic governance, and we have planned a lot of more things on top of this. So yeah, in the end, what did we do, right? We used Redpanda topics and schema registries to store data, and we stored the real data. Then we used Oxla to query the topic. And again, we have access to the same data as we have on a topic because of schema registry and the interop between the Oxla and Redpanda. We also have remote MCP to make this data available to AI. And we have the ability to now here redact data as we need, right? We can modify requests and responses. We replaced credit card numbers with a hash, so the agent doesn't have access to the sensitive data. And then we have the declarative AI agent that works with this data. So yeah, like we've gone full circle. Yeah, that's it basically for my demo. Thank you for watching.